Shin Hyun found himself in an enclosed cave with only a dim light to illuminate his surroundings. As he gazed at the light, words began to appear on it, beckoning him to see it till the alternate world's end. The words echoed in his mind as he pondered their meaning. Shin Hyun's confusion only deepened as he questioned how he had come to be in this strange place. His memories were hazy at best, but he could vaguely recall being in a car with his family before suddenly losing consciousness. When he awoke, he found himself in the cave with no idea how he had gotten there. As the days turned into years, Shin Hyun remained trapped in the cave with nothing but a single book to keep him company. The book, titled Heavenly Martial Origin Cultivation Art, provided some solace but offered no answers to the myriad of questions swirling in his mind. One day, a message appeared before him, bearing the cryptic words that passed across the message that if he want to go home he have to see things to the end. The message only added to Shin Hyun's confusion, and he wondered what he must do to fulfill this strange task. As he sat alone in the cave, Shin Hyun could only ponder the mysteries of his situation and wonder what fate had in store for him. As he read the message, confusion still clouded his mind, leaving him unable to fully grasp the situation at hand. However, just as he was about to succumb to his puzzlement, another message abruptly appeared on his screen. "Congratulations, you have completed the tutorial," it read. A sense of elation washed over him as he watched the cave entrance open up before his eyes. Little did he know that this was just the beginning of an endless journey. Emerging from the cave, he found himself in an unfamiliar land, disoriented and bewildered. His emotions ran high, and he began to scream out in frustration, questioning why he was not yet free to leave after 10 long years. He also wanted to know what he had to do to reach the end of the world, to finally be free. As he was wailing in desperation, a menacing figure approached him, brandishing a sword and intent on consuming his flesh. Shin Hyun tried to defend himself, struggling to stay alive, but in the end, he was forced to take the life of his attacker. In that moment, as he watched the man take his last breath, an author message appeared stating that his external art had leveled. Suddenly, it dawned on him that the only way to return to his original world was to reach the maximum level. He began to do everything in his power to reach the maximum level, hoping to leave the unknown city he found himself in. However, his plans were interrupted when he encountered a mysterious person who informed him that he was destined to become the next demonic cult leader. This strange person then vanished without a trace, leaving him to wonder what his future might hold. As time passed, he realized that he had been stuck in this unfamiliar place for 140 years. He was unable to remember what his family looked like, and only vague images of them remained in his mind. This realization left him feeling hopeless and despondent, and he began to consider ways to end his life. Just when all seemed lost, a notification suddenly appeared on his screen, informing him that he had reached the highest level in his external and internal arts. The restriction requirements had been cleared, and the final level of deity ascension had been lifted. He was finally returning to Earth, and his dream was about to be fulfilled. As he gazed upon the frame before him, the protagonist's confusion and frustration grew, fueled by a deep sense of anger and an overwhelming number of questions that swirled around in his heart. At that moment, he found himself questioning if there was anything or anyone waiting for him back on Earth after so many years had passed. He couldn't help but wonder if his family was still alive, or if they had passed away in his absence. The longer he thought about it, the more he began to lose the will to return to his original world after spending so many years in this strange and unknown place. Suddenly, the frame lit up once again, offering him a chance to return to his original world. However, his anger and frustration boiled over, and he exploded with a powerful surge of energy and vowed to find whoever was in charge of his predicament and seek revenge. Meanwhile, many years prior to Shin Hyun's accident that led him to his present state, a prophecy had been made about the impending arrival of the nightmares. The prophesier had warned humanity that their only hope for survival was to evolve beyond their current limitations. He finally arrived on Earth. The chapter begins in the year 2025, in the Red Wolf Dungeon located in Korea. Cha Yun-seol, the leader of a team of fighters, and her group are battling fiercely with the Red Wolves. The team has impressive archery skills and they seem to be winning the battle. However, they soon discover that they are not entirely safe as the Red Wolves attack them back. In the midst of their discussion on how to leave the dungeon, Mr. Byung-gu is bitten by a wolf, and chaos ensues as the other wolves start attacking the team members. Cha Yun-seol is the only one left standing, feeling frightened and disoriented as she realizes that she needs to fight off all the wolves alone. She valiantly tries to fight back, but to no avail, and she sees one of her team members, Seo Jung-hyun, running away. She chases after him and confronts him for abandoning her, but he refuses to listen and turns on her instead. A fight breaks out, and Cha Yun-seol tries to reason with him, but he refuses to listen due to his selfish nature. She accuses him of being privileged because of his father who always sorts out his mess, which triggers Seo Jung-hyun to attack her with his powers. Cha Yun-seol is exhausted from the earlier fight with the wolves and can barely defend herself. Seo Jung-hyun beats her mercilessly, and just when he's about to finish her off, a bright light appears, and someone emerges from it, chanting something. Seo Jung-hyun confronts the stranger, who ignores his questions and goes straight to check on Cha Yun-seol's condition. Seo Jung-hyun becomes angry and tries to attack the stranger from behind, but he is shocked when the man retaliates with his own powers and defeats him. The stranger introduces himself as the Supreme Sword Emperor, Cha Shin-hyun, and reveals that he is Cha Yun-seol's older brother. Seo Jung-hyun is perplexed by this revelation, and he realizes that he doesn't know much about Cha Shin-hyun. Cha Yun-seol's obsession with achievements has made her a disturbance to many people, including her team member Seo Jung-hyun, who is now filled with guilt for his actions. The dungeon raid ends in failure, and the whole team is annihilated. Flashback to the day of the accident that led to Cha Shin-hyun's disappearance. Cha Yun-seol and her family had gone to the park to enjoy themselves. Cha Yun-seol was having so much fun that she didn't want to leave, but her older brother Cha Shin-hyun convinced her to go home. They got into the car and started driving home. However, on the way, they were involved in a terrible accident that killed their parents instantly. Cha Yun-seol was devastated and traumatized by the accident. She couldn't believe that her parents were gone forever, and that her brother had disappeared without a trace. She blamed herself for not insisting on staying at the park and for not being able to do anything to prevent the accident. Cha Shin-hyun's disappearance was especially hard on her because he was not only her older brother but also her role model and closest confidant despite extensive searches and investigations. Cha Shin-hyun was never found. His disappearance remained a mystery, and Cha Yun-seol was left with unanswered questions and a sense of guilt and loss that haunted her for years. The scene takes us back to reality where Cha Yun-seol is lying on the floor and Cha Shin-hyun has emerged victorious against Seo Jung-hyun. Cha Shin-hyun lies beside his sister, using his powers to try and revive her. However, he is unsure if he will be able to succeed as her injuries are severe and deep. Suddenly, Cha Yun-seol regains consciousness but is confused as to who is lying beside her. Cha Shin-hyun reminisces about the last time they saw each other before the accident, and his words trigger a flood of memories in Cha Yun-seol. She recalls the moment when he had given her a necklace with their family photo in it and said, "It's a present, and I want you to stay courageous even when I'm not there." Emotions overwhelm her as she grapples with conflicting feelings of anger, joy, and relief at finally being reunited with her family. Cha Yun-seol found herself overwhelmed with emotion and resorted to tears as she ran into the open arms of her long-lost brother. The gravity of the moment was palpable, as her heart raced and her thoughts scrambled to process the flood of emotions that washed over her. Her reunion with her brother was an intense experience, one that she had longed for since the day they had been separated. As the rush of emotions subsided, Cha Yun-seol's thoughts drifted to the events that led up to this moment. She remembered the fight, the feeling of being overpowered, and the subsequent loss of consciousness. With a growing sense of dread, she turned to her brother and asked what had happened to Seo Jung-hyun. The answer was a crushing blow. Her brother had killed him in the fight. The weight of this revelation hit Cha Yun-seol like a ton of bricks. She felt a deep sense of sorrow and regret for what had happened, and the tears returned to her eyes. As she wept, she realized that she and her brother were in grave danger. They had to get away, and they had to do it quickly. Without hesitation, Cha Yun-seol seized her brother's arm and began dragging him towards safety, her heart racing with fear and adrenaline. They both ran away from the Red Wolves dungeon and to their family house where Cha Yun-seol lived presently. Her older brother kept looking around and trying to warm into his house after being away for over 14 years. Cha Yun-seol is losing her mind, and she is afraid because she knows that Seo Jung-hyun's father will come looking for her because she is the sole survivor of the team raid. Seo Jung-hyun's father is director Seo Kang-jin. He is the director of Dawn Guild. Seo Kang-jin used to be a member of a gang, and he is also infamous for being violent and ruthless. He is one of the 11 high-ranked hunters in Korea as well. She explained all this to Cha Shin-hyun, and he thought the solution to the problem would be to kill director Seo Kang-jin before he tried to find them and kill them for killing his son. Cha Yun-seol took his word like he was crazy and told him how powerful and how leveled up his was. She started complaining about how lame his name was and why he started to speak differently. She asked why he started showing symptoms of a severe case of 8th-grader syndrome. 8th-grader syndrome term is typically used to describe early teens who have grandiose delusions, who desperately want to stand out, and who have convinced themselves that they have hidden knowledge or secret powers. Cha Yun-seol was so concerned about how her brother disappeared and reappeared after 14 years, then he starts to talk and act funny. Cha Shin-hyun explained to her how he was in a place called Muram for a long time for reasons not known to him and is also complicated. Also how he needed to be updated on everything that happened when he wasn't around. He kept asking too many questions and his sister had to tell him to stop and that they would talk about all of that when she got back from the Dawn Guild. When he was left alone in the house looking around and pondering his thoughts, he was attacked by some people who came looking for his sister. He met with the director Seo Kang-jin of the Dawn Guild that day too, because he came with the people to look for Cha Yun-seol. While Cha Shin-hyun was inside the house dealing with director Seo Kang-jin, Cha Yun-seol had made her way to the head office of the Dawn Guild, the second-generation club in South Korea. She was struggling with the decision of seeking help and didn't know whom to turn to. However, she was met outside the building by Lee Ji-hae, the vice-guild leader of the Dawn Guild, who is recognized as one of the strongest hunters in South Korea. Although Lee Ji-hae's demeanor is often impenetrable, she is known for her fairness and steadfastness. Cha Yun-seol had reservations about trusting her, but with no one else to turn to, she confided in her about her predicament. The tension at the house reached its peak when Cha Shin-hyun finally came clean about the truth to director Seo Kang-jin that he was responsible for the death of his son, not Cha Yun-seol. As expected, director Seo Kang-jin was filled with rage and fury upon hearing this revelation, and a heated argument ensued between the two of them. Sensing the gravity of the situation, Lee Ji-hae quickly assessed the circumstances and realized that the best course of action was to have Cha Yun-seol reunited with her brother immediately. Instructing Cha Yun-seol to leave the scene with her brother, Lee Ji-hae diffused the situation and prevented it from escalating any further. In the house, Cha Shin-hyun and director Seo Kang-jin were having a battle, and Cha Shin-hyun noticed that his opponent had a strange source of power just like that of his son Seo Jun-hyun's. He kept wondering, and he decided he was going to make a research on his source of power. The warrior skill of director Seo Kang-jin was consecutive strike. Cha Shin-hyun is monitoring all their moves, and he is impressed with all their moves, but none of them are able to defeat him. He tries to understand the ranking system in this part of the world because where he was is way different than this. He makes it his purpose there to level up in this part of the world. Cha Yun-seol and Lee Ji-hae were on their way to meet Cha Shin-hyun where she left him at home. But she is confused because she doesn't know why Li Jihai wants to meet with her brother all of a sudden, and she even made a promise to help her sort thing in the Dawn Guild. All these was new and confusing. On their way to the house, they are having conversations about who Cha Xinhyun was and how he was. Cha Xinhyun had defeated all the warriors who were fighting him, and they were looking for a way to scurry away because they were scared of the kind of power he possessed. Director Seo Kangjin was so upset that someone he had no knowledge about had so much power to scare him, so he tried to fight back with all he had. But he was stroked down again by Cha Xinhyun's mighty sword. After this happened, Cha Yunseol and Li Jihai walked into the room and met him cleaning up blood from the floor, and Cha Yunseol was surprised and questioned him. While he was answering her questions, he noticed Li Jihai standing behind Cha Yunseol. Li Jihai moved closer to him, and he noticed that she had a very strange energy around her, and she told him that did he think he was the only one that had gone to Muram. It has already been a whole week since Cha Xinhyun returned to Earth and started living with his sister, Cha Yunseol. Despite the fact that they are back on Earth, it all still feels like a surreal dream to her. Cha Xinhyun's appearance has changed dramatically, and now he looks like an ordinary city dweller, blending into the crowd. The vice leader of their guild, Li Jihai, bid farewell to Cha Xinhyun before disappearing without a trace. She left behind no evidence of her presence or her actions. However, shortly after her departure, a group of people wearing black clothing appeared and took care of the corpses of board director Seo Kangjin and his subordinates. It was reported the next day on the news that Seo Junghyun had been found, along with the sudden disappearance of Seo Kangjin, who had announced his retirement just before his disappearance. This suggested that Li Jihai had kept her promise and had taken care of the situation. However, Cha Yunseol was not in the clear yet, due to her involvement in the Red Wolf dungeon raid, where she was the sole survivor and took responsibility for the incident. She was put on a long probation by the guild. It was a difficult and challenging time for her, but she was determined to prove herself and regain the trust of her guild. Cha Yunseol was very skeptical because she still didn't know if to totally trust Li Jihai and her intentions. Cha Xinhyun was summoned by her, and this made Cha Yunseol baffled, and she kept wondering what the meeting was for. When Cha Xinhyun got to where the vice leader of the guild was, he saw that she had a guard that looked strange and different from every other type. He was given a tea that he had only taken when he was in Muram. The name of the tea was Junchen Yinjin. The tea was sold in Hanam. Junchen Yinjin is a priced tea first conceived in China during the Tang dynasty, served to the royal family during the Qing dynasty. Li Jihai told him that there were 3 people who had been confirmed to have come out of the Muram: Cha Xinhyun, herself, and the guild leader of Twilight Park Ti-hun. She explained to him that Twilight is a guild that, along with Dawn, split the influence of the Korean Hunters Association, and that there was a rift between the two with quite animosity. She also gave him the story of Park Ti-hun and all that 3 of them had in common. Cha Xinhyun had questions about this era that had the dungeons and hunters in them. She gave him the story of how it all started when a divine revelation came from a goddess. Cha Xinhyun questioned her about how she and Park Ti-hun got to Earth. She told him they had to die, and that was when he realized that that was what "see it till the end" meant. He was furious, and he had intentions to go meet the goddess so she could give him answers since she knew it all, but he remembered that Li Jihai summoned him, and he asked her what it was. Li Jihai invited him over because she wanted him to join the Dawn Guild since he is responsible for the death of director Seo Kangjin. But he refused and said that he preferred to work alone because he won't want to be working with someone who was weaker than himself. So in order for both of them to decide who was weaker than the other, they had a battle on the field. Li Jihai's origin skill was shadow dance. She explained how her powers worked and what it did to him.